Good evening and happy Friday. Thanks for watching WRTV News at 6. I'm Amanda STARRANTINO. We are just 4 days away from Election Day, and as you can see, many people are not waiting until November 3rd to cast their ballot. Early voting lines still extremely long throughout the day, especially here at the City County building in Indianapolis. Numbers from the Indiana Secretary of State's office shows that more than 1.5 million Hoosiers have already voted this year. That's already more than 50% of the final vote count in the 2016 presidential election.
Voting should be really an easy process, not a confusing and difficult one.
And WRTV Investigates has learned voters and poll workers are getting conflicting information about whether you can change your mind about the process you use to vote. Our Kara Kenny is talking to voters and groups that are concerned that confusion could discourage people from casting a ballot.
Some voters originally planned to vote absentee by mail, but are changing their minds and now want to vote early in person. We found there's conflicting information out there about whether you can do that. Charlotte Hess of Bloomington applied for an absentee ballot because she's over 65.
I saw the request for an absentee ballot as a kind of an insurance that I would be able to vote in one way or another.
But Charlotte is concerned about lag times involving mail-in ballots, so she decided to vote early in person instead. But when Charlotte called the Monroe County Election Office, they told her she couldn't change her mind.
You must vote by mail or deposit it.
Kathy Radford says the same thing happened to her family friend who's a junior at IU.
I personally think it's oppression.
Monroe County turned her away when she tried to surrender her absentee ballot and vote early in person.
She doesn't trust the system anymore. She really is concerned that her absentee ballot was not going to be counted. So she has the right to change her mind, and that's what she did.
At least two nonpartisan groups agree Indiana's election statute allows you to change your mind: Hoosier Action and Common Cause Indiana.
We strongly believe that we need to reduce every possible barrier to casting a ballot.
You should be able to simply hand your absentee ballot over to the polling place inspector at the early voting location. Tell them you have changed your mind. They will take that ballot from you and allow you to vote in person. We don't need to make voters jump through multiple hoops to exercise their constitutional right to vote.
The Indiana Election Division and Secretary of State's office interpret the statute differently. They say a voter could vote in person if their original absentee ballot is lost, spoiled, or defective. The Election Division says the voter would have to fill out an ABS 5 affidavit to the county election board.
We know it's going on in Monroe and Lake counties, but I'm sure there are other counties where it's happening as well. It's causing a lot of problems. We need to have uniform election laws across our state. It shouldn't matter which county you live in.
Common Cause sent this letter to the Indiana Election Commission and the Secretary of State's office, blasting them for providing inaccurate and inconsistent information to voters and asking for corrective action to ensure all eligible voters are able to vote in person at the time of their choosing. Julia Vaughn says no one responded. WRTV Investigates requested interviews with Monroe County, the Secretary of State, and the Indiana Election Division, and no one took us up on that. In emails to WRTV, the state points out on Election Day, voters can surrender their absentee ballots and vote in person. So what can you do if you're concerned about your vote counting? Hoosier Action recommends filling out and hand-delivering your absentee ballot as soon as possible, although some counties only let you do this at the courthouse. You can also surrender your ballot and vote on Election Day. If you have problems, text Hoosier Action at 812-727-0392.
It is completely unacceptable to me that there would be confusion that would curtail or disenfranchise voters.
They're helping voters like Charlotte navigate through this voting confusion. Charlotte plans to hand deliver her mail-in ballot.
Voting should be really an easy process, not a confusing and difficult one.
And Kathy's friend plans to vote on Election Day instead of early. Voters and groups like Common Cause say state lawmakers need to clarify whether voters can change their mind on how they want to cast their ballots.
It's still very inconsistent, and it has to be fixed.
Common Cause Indiana has set up an election protection hotline at 866-OUR-VOTE. Working for you in Bloomington, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Monroe County, the Indiana Election Division and Secretary of State's office responded to WRTV by email, and you can read their full responses in this story on the WRTV app and on our website at WRTV.com. Again, that number for the Election Protection Hotline is 866-OUR-VOTE. The Lawyers Committee on Civil Rights under Law and Common Cause helps staff the hotline and can answer your questions.